This session of the Dealer Playbook is brought to you by Flex Dealer. Attract, engage, and convert high-quality vehicle shoppers with innovative digital marketing strategies that will dominate your market. Check out more at thedealerplaybook.com/flex.
This is the Dealer Playbook. All right, and here we go, the Dealer Playbook podcast session 59, where every single week we're sitting down with the who's who in and out of the auto industry for you, today's automotive professionals, automotive peeps. This is Michael Cirillo. I'm joined by my partner in crime, Mr. Robert Wiseman. How you doing, pal?
I'm doing excellent, man. Thank you for asking.
You are so welcome. I mean, it's just such a delight to connect with you every single day.
Episode 59, man. The big 5-9.
Episode 59. Yeah, we're moving into 60 episodes coming up, and it's been such a fun ride. We've lucked out with some incredible guests. Our guest today is pretty cool. We'll tell you about him in a minute, but just a lot of really cool things going on that we're so glad you guys are keeping checking out the show. You're leaving us reviews on iTunes. We just want to express our appreciation to you for checking that out. Okay. So enough of the sappy stuff there. Today's guest, good friend of ours, Brent Wees over at, We Are Dashboard is the name of his company. They've got a lot of really cool things going on, and you're gonna hear him talk about today something that has been around forever, and you're gonna hear him talk about how it's been around forever, but something that is unique to to what's going on in the automotive industry. It's something that we haven't really seen inside of this space. And, you're going to hear us talk about in this episode how, even though it's been around forever, it feels new in the auto industry. And so there's really an opportunity here to be an early adopter for what we're talking about. So, Brent's a pretty crazy guy. You're going to hear us derail a couple of times because we're crazy. But, Robert, you got anything else to add here?
Oh, man. Let's dive into it, man. Number 59, Brent Wees.
Here we go. Hey, Brent, what's going on? Thanks for being on the show today.
Hey, you're super welcome. I'm totally stoked to be on with you fine gentlemen today.
Yeah, and I'm already laughing. Like this is going to be crazy. Okay, so I mean, it's taken us how long? 59 episodes to get you on and talk about, some of the stuff we're going to talk about today, which is really cool, really exciting. You guys have some cool things on the go over there. But first, I guess I just want to jump into this real quick. I was in your session at Canadian Digital Dealer. It was all about this topic. I'm going to let you intro it, but I was there basically keeping score, and the whole session was interactive based around this topic we're going to be talking about today. I was scorekeeping. It was high energy. Everybody was really engaged. Can you tell us a little bit about what it is that you were presenting, and then give us the history, like how'd this all come together, and why is it a relevant topic for dealers, especially this day and age, digital age?
Sure. And, again, thanks for having me on, fellas. 59 actually is my lucky number. So we're lining things up really nice.
Yeah. Well,
you go.
we had a cancellation this week. So.
Oh, well, I'll take what I can get.
There you go.
We need the prices right. Lose sound on that. Listen, so here's what it was all about. So I got talking about gamification, and lately this year I've been asked to go speak at a lot of different events about it. And it has ties with marketing automation. They seem to be bigger buzzwords this year in the industry. A lot of vendors are talking about it. A lot of people at the OEMs, where you're seeing it used for a lot of training. We've seen Chrysler use it and employ it for some training in different verticals. So as the dealers now go to these events, and of course they're there to learn and find out new tactics, new strategies. This is being talked about a lot, and our company, just happens to be one that we have a lot of background with it from our advertising past, and it really is to help the dealers understand that it's actually been around a lot longer than just the past year or two. It has been we've been using it for decades.
Okay, so you say gamification. real quickly, what is it? What does it entail? And then give us some examples. You mentioned that we've been using it for decades. What are some examples of that?
Well, in gamification, in its purest form, is any sort of mechanism where users either they redeem or they work towards something, or it's a contest or an instant win mechanism. But it's a redemption award and an incent sort of flow and pathing, and historically it's been used a ton. Think about air miles, right? The airlines were one of the first adopters of a really hardcore gamification platform. People hated flying, they hated certain airlines, so airlines got smart and went, hey, let's give people points for travel, and then they could redeem those and keep coming back to us and using those on our airlines. And it was a stroke of brilliance on their point. We see it in grocery stores, especially not maybe so much in Canada, but in the U.S., you see a ton of incentivizing through gamification with points collection and incentive cards. But again, like go back even farther. When I was a kid, and we were talking about this just before the podcast, Star Wars had a Boba Fett action figure, and if you bought 4 other characters and sent in those proofs of purchases, you got the Boba Fett, and it was the only way you got that character. So again, like that gamification, go back even farther through comic books, where you would send in so many bottle tops from certain soft drink beverages to get a baseball hat or an autographed something. It's been around, like fans have used it all along. The dealers see that they see that it's being tossed around as a new term, but in fact, when you start to look at this, you see that it's been around all the time.
Interesting. Yeah, man, I just did one a couple years ago with a Vince McMahon figure that you had to send in through Toys R Us, your proofs of purchases, then just the shipping. Boom, you got it.
Well, I mean,
exactly, and you see.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Michael.
I was going to say in Canada, we see it all the time. No, you go. In Canada, you see it all the time, right? Like
no,
I was
go.
Fine. I'm going. Yeah, we've totally derailed. I was filling up with gas the other day, right? I was filling up with gas, and it's like, hey, every time you use this points card, it's going to go towards your chance of winning a free year of gas. Or, I mean, in Canada, it's the whole roll up the rim to win thing, right? That's
roll
all.
Up the rim, right?
All gamification.
Perfect gamification. And
okay,
people get really lit up about that.
Like my wife in particular, she's like, I am freaking winning that. Whatever they're giving away, that Subaru Impreza, and it's like, no, we're just not Subaru people. No, I'm kidding. But she gets really fired up about it. Okay, so you mentioned that this is kind of a new, I guess, buzzword inside of the auto industry, but it's been happening forever. How does this apply? What are some of the things that dealers can be doing to, I guess, gamify or engage people to, what's the end result? Is it get people into the showroom? Is it build awareness? What is it?
Yeah, I've seen it on all different levels, especially we've seen it as social media really matured and grew for the dealers, and as they started using social media, you saw gamification all over social media, like this picture, we're giving, post here, we're giving away movie tickets. So it's an awareness play in social media as the dealerships were building up their communities and their social media strategies. But you also see it, dealers, were using it, like, you'd get the big cash wheel in the dealership on a Saturday and they were running it that way. Those are tactics that have sort of been around, especially the latter one about actually having stuff at the dealership on a special sale on a Saturday afternoon, along with your barbecue and your inflatable gorilla. But what I'm seeing it now is what I was talking about with dealers recently is if we look at the reliance of gamification and social media, it's more of an awareness play. And from what I see, it's usually not benefiting a business case for the dealership itself. If you're giving away movie tickets, that's a nice to do. But if you're using gamification, why wouldn't you start to think about bringing it back to the dealership? And what we're trying to educate dealers on is, if social media is not really driving that traffic, because for me, awareness is a great thing. Absolutely. I think it has to be a part of your marketing mix. But naturally, dealers, they need to conquest customers, right? They need to continually sell products and services at their stores. So if we see that showroom traffic is slightly starting to dip for dealers as people stay on their sites longer, and as dealers are working their websites to be more of the experience, why not take some of that gamification and build it right into that destination online instead of relying on outside channels, bring it right into the dealership and actually incent and gamify with products right from the dealership.
Okay, so you're saying...
I think it's sort of a brainer.
Okay, so right, and so you're saying actually put a video game or a something on the dealer's website or on their social media page or something?
It could be, yeah. Yeah, it could be just a really quick instant win, as we said, like a roll up the rim. It could be a very quick instant reveal of an incentive off a vehicle. It could be a skill-based game. It doesn't, the mechanic itself doesn't have to be heavy, but people do like to play games, be it console, be it mobile. It doesn't have to be too involved, especially when those visitors at a dealer's website are only at the site between 2.5 and 6 minutes. There's only a little bit of time where you want to engage them. But if it's something that's going to keep them a little bit stickier and with them, on that site, there's going to be a benefit. And a lot of times, too, what I'm seeing with the companies that are using tactics like this and helping dealers put it on their sites, the cost of execution isn't high either.
Okay, so and something comes to my mind. Everybody knows I'm a big segmentation guy. That my mind's going kind of gravitating towards that. So, say we've got this gamification piece. Who's it really geared towards, or can you gear it towards different segments? And what I mean by that is this going to be, with what we're talking about specifically here, is this more for in-market consumer? Is it? Do you know what I mean? Is it going to be really focused on somebody who's kind of actively in the buying process, or are there other mechanisms in place that can help build awareness of, oh wait, maybe we do need a new vehicle and maybe we should hop into this process, and this gamification mechanism or this awareness mechanism or engagement mechanism has helped with that?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, Michael, and honestly, I feel that the way you can use gamification is you can actually touch a lot of different segments right down through the filter. Now, that funnel, like our highest funnel people, may not necessarily engage with something directly, but if you get mid and low funnel people at different segments, say from a conquest standpoint, if you put it in the right place while they're in that mid-level assessment of what they want to do, gamification might pull them ahead a little bit quicker, because you're giving them something that may, if you write it the right way, if you surround, some of the products we create, we allow the dealer to massage and mold the messaging that's on the gamification engine, for instance. So if you create that urgency, you could pull ahead those segments that may be a mid-level funnel. Low funnel, it's easier to engage people naturally because they're in the buying market. They could be in a 30-day window, and then all of a sudden you sort of put something in front of them that sort of locks them in a little bit more and or even gives them that little, hey, in my back pocket, I know I've got this extra incentive from dealer A. I'm probably going to consider him a little bit more.
Sure.
Where we're also seeing gamification work on fixed ops, though, is we saw a lot, like with some of our tools, we saw dealers using it on parts and service pages, and they were incentivizing their existing customers to get their tires changed, incent storage, this time of year, air conditioning services, like different things they were using on parts and service. And fixed ops really saw a really good way to ladder in and think about different tactics they could use, because normally at the tables, month in and month out, a lot of times you just hear at the table, okay, what are we going to do this month? And sometimes these gamification engines are low cost, quick execution pieces that can help you, maybe engage a segment a little bit differently, but it allows you to go in and test an A/B test a lot quicker as well. Okay,
this is really cool. I'm going down a thought process here, and I love what I'm hearing so far. So, and I can certainly see how.
Am I applying for a job or something?
Yes. Yeah, maybe the hashtag Floxbox.
Floxbox.
Yeah, so
product from Wiseman Cirillo Weiss.
There you go, Wiseman Cirillo Weiss. It's like a law firm.
That's what it sounds like.
Okay, so
that never wins.
That never wins. Only in their own heads.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so while you were talking about that, I can see how the whole low cost, quick execution thing would be appealing. The from the consumer's perspective, I was reading a report not too long ago. It was something crazy. I think 1,000 people were polled who had recently purchased or were in the process of purchasing a vehicle within a 3 or 6 month period. Of which I think it was like 54% of them said that the excitement of buying a car quickly turned to fear of being taken advantage of. Where I'm going with this is that stigma, that black cloud or that dark cloud still kind of seems to be hanging over the consumer's perception of the dealer. And we inside the industry, we talk about it all the time, and we try and take all these measures to eradicate that and make people more comfortable. How is, from what you've been able to observe, how is gamification being perceived? Is it being received the right way? Or is it just advancing this, okay, well, this dealer's just trying to do anything to get me to come into their store, of which then I will be fearful for my money and not being taken advantage of. Do you know where I'm going with that? I'm trying to find the right words.
No, I do. No, I understand it, because you want to, the dealers have been told time and time again over the past several years, right? Like, be transparent, build that brand image of what you offer as a dealership. Mm-hmm. And the reason we brought in gamification as one of our products on our platform is because from our agency background, for years we did a lot of digital work for different brands like Unilever and ING Direct and Skittles and
Sure.
Wrigley, Juicy Fruit gum. So we had all this background and experience in digital contesting and digital incentifying, and it's one of the things that always came out of when we worked as an agency, and what works now is there's what's called that surprise and delight factor. So if the dealership, and what we're seeing is, and we're seeing nice conversion on it, because we know people like playing games. They like, peel and reveals. They like instant win or the, quick contest mechanisms. I think what we're seeing on our side is we're getting some nice conversion deeper on the site, because we're not hitting people, and we recommend that, don't put this on the front page of the website, strategically drop it on a VDP of a vehicle you may want to be looking at moving, or certain vehicles, or on a parts and service page. So when those people go there, when they're naturally, following their flow of engagement on that dealer's website, they get it a little deeper, because they're getting hit with enough stuff on the front page. The surprise and delight factor actually has been so far a benefit as we've seen it. It hasn't driven people away. Mm-hmm. And like we said, we're seeing 6 to 9% conversion rate on things that are set deeper in the site.
Okay, so, and then I guess the other half of this is, okay, now we've got this gamification piece. We're getting better conversions. We're engaging our site visitors better wherever. I'm assuming you could do this on social or mm-hmm. somewhere else online. We're engaging people. We're seeing those conversions. But now we also, I guess, need a process on our side of the table so that we actually know how to handle these leads.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah, and absolutely. Sorry.
No, so I was just going to say, what is the process? I mean, is there a kind of a blanket process for these? Is there, is it the dealer's responsibility to kind of sit down and say, okay, we're running I don't know, $200 off if they roll up the rim to win, or whatever the game
right.
is.
Yeah. No.
How do we handle this? Because I guess where I'm going is I mean, we see traditionally that training is very crucial. Processes are very crucial. Robert, I mean, you can speak to this, more than I can, but I guess where does that fit into this? Where does the process on the dealer's side fit into the effectiveness of this game working, or this gamification
of how
piece?
It rolls out?
Yeah.
And to speak to our platform, our RevUps platform, which is our gamification engine, because it's a SaaS-based product, it's a self-serve product that, dealers can come in and use when they want. It's a pay-per-use environment. So it's not as white glove as historically has been in place. So normally we've seen, and Robert being at the stores has maybe seen this in the past, where, a local radio station or a marketing company or an advertising company will come in and set up this sort of environment or this mechanism for a store, and there's a lot of setup and there's a lot of time built in to get this all ready. What we've built is, in our system, you can go in and actually set up your full campaign in 5 steps. You can set up your pathing of your lead pathing into your BDC, or to, which staff needs to get those and react to the customer. Our system also does a little bit extra where, if a customer comes in, plays a game, redeems something, and then that information is hitting the dealership, the customer's also getting, communications going out directly from the engine, letting them know that the dealership's going to be talking to them. It is up to the dealership, because we don't want to tell a dealership how to run their lead process, because we're in the market to build product for dealers to use at their leisure, at low cost and easy engagement. There's people, like yourselves, or, like people like Glenn Pash, that will come in and help dealers train better and work better. But we need to just make sure that they understand that. And the dealers so far that are using this understand that. They know it's their responsibility to go, hey, you know what, if this gamification engine is going to drive in X amount of leads, our staff needs to know, this is the day we're starting on, this is the way the leads are going to look, and this is the communication and the experience that we want to deliver as people redeem. And why I say that last part is because on our engine, we have our analytics environment is called odometer. So while if someone's on the game and they do like a peel to reveal or a roll up of the rim and they win something at the dealership, the minute that customer executes that redemption, our tracking system starts showing the dealership every VDP they looked at, every page, how many miles they are from the dealership, how many visits. So it's not just sort of the the general look in, say, Google Analytics, where you're getting those big numbers. You're getting it actually customer by customer. And where that may help a dealership or a BDC is because they're getting all of the intel on the customer. They know what they've won. They know what vehicles they're looking at. They can tailor an experience to be even better for that customer, instead of going out and maybe hitting them with the quote unquote the usual questions of engagement to get them in for that appointment. They already know all that stuff. The gamification engines now are really giving the dealership so much intel that they should be able to really tailor a great experience for the customer and be efficient with their time too.
Okay, cool. So
all right. Hold on. What the heck is this roll up the rim thing you guys keep hitting on? Like, I've never even heard of it.
Oh,
so in Canada,
man.
Robert, there's this donut store called Tim Hortons, and it is sort of the crack cocaine of coffee up here. And Canadians love their coffee, and it's brewed in a way that it only tastes good if you have 2 creams and 2 milks in it. So everyone orders it double. And so they sell so much goddamn coffee up here. There are lines around their drive-thrus. It's a phenomenon that I can't even explain. But twice a year they do this. They do a contest called Roll Up the Rim, and you take your lid off your coffee and you roll up the side, and you win a car, or you win a free donut, or you win a muffin. But people get spun out. They get nuts when this happens. It's sort of, where you have, like, say, the 4th of July, Roll Up the Rim is sort of probably our biggest national holiday now. Right, Michael?
I was going to say, you could open up, like, you could seriously open up a Tim Hortons right next to another Tim Hortons, and you would make millions of dollars.
You'll do all right.
It's crazy.
Yeah, like you sneeze money. When you open one of these.
Let me and tell.
But I digress.
Try to. What does gamification look like, though, on a dealer level? Like, tell me some games, or like, so the person listening right now and myself can really grasp a better visual of this. But tell me, like, something that's worked.
Yeah, sure. Well, you know what I mean? I believe it, like Hook Logic, they got like a really cool piece, right? Where, you get on a VDP and something will come up and show that, hey, test drive this car, set up a test drive, and you'll get a $25 gift card at, a Target, or, a Tim Hortons, or wherever, McDonald's, Starbucks, doesn't matter. They're incenting a gift card to get someone to come in and do test drives. On our engine, when you come into a dealer's website that has a rev-ups on it, that game will be anything from a spin to win, like, right, spin the wheel. We've got Vegas slot games. We've got sports skill games, simple just reveal instant win mechanisms. We've done some sort of more elegant reveal and incentive that, like, Highline dealers have used. It could just be an overlay that says, hey, we've got a 3-day event on right now. Would you like to, dealers can use RevUps just to do something that just comes out a little bit more. It's not sort of your typical pop-up that you see with chat windows or different things like that. It scrims out the entire screen for the dealer, makes it elegant, allows the user to turn it off. It's not intrusive, but we've run just about any kind of game you could think of, and we're adding to the RevUps library all the time. So, for instance, I was up at a Nissan dealer north of town today, and they used to love the spin to win wheel right in their dealership, the big clickety clack wheel. So that was one of the first ones we made, and so they're setting one up for next week to start running with a media campaign they've got in market, because they want to use the gamification. They want to they're going to go out and do a media campaign in their area in the north part of Toronto, and they're going to push everything to the page that the gamification will launch on, because they want to use that game to really make that campaign sticky for them.
Now, are they exchanging? Is it required for them to exchange to drop their info or anything prior to playing this game, or that's not? I mean, there's no gate or anything.
No, it's not gated at all. So the game will reveal itself. If the user wants to play it, they can, and they still don't have to redeem. We'll still pick up. The nice thing is our system will pick up all of the, say, ups against the gamification and the redemptions, and we'll report that to the user as well, because what we want to see is, we may have a really cool game that people like to play when they're on a dealer's website for, 15 or 20 seconds, but we may see some that aren't aiming as hard as other ones. So we'll actually either turn those off, and in our environment, dealers that use RevUps can actually go in and rate stuff they've used, just like an app store. So again, to your point, we want to see that which ones engage the most. We want to shut down things that just aren't working, and we're always working with our dealers to make sure that if they've got something in, it's just not hitting the conversion levels we want. We incent our own dealers to say, hey, if we're not hitting a certain conversion rate for you, we're gonna turn that around and make good and give you another one, and work with you to make it really sing.
Okay, so that helps with the lead gen piece. So we've engaged them, we've got them to play this game. If they want to redeem, they put in their contact info, so we get a lead. I guess the last thing, big takeaway for me is that this should obviously work in conjunction with other strategies. So in other words, I guess what I'm getting at is not the be all end all magic bullet, but it works in line. It's got to be part of a unified strategy. You need to understand what your objective is with it, how it's gonna fit in. You mentioned, the dealer needs to understand the lead process and how they're gonna handle those leads and what they're gonna look like. But then you'd mentioned something I just want to touch on too. So that you said that you pick up the ups, regardless. Is that like an IP based geolocation type thing?
We do a few different things on the measurement. So first thing we do is, like we said, if someone's engaged the game but didn't redeem, we can still track the use against the game itself. Right, so that's what I call that up. We do a lot of IP tracking though too. What we found is, based on the IP data that we pull in when people play, redeem or non-redeem, the IP data we can pull in is to show, usually against, say, just classic, Canada Post or U.S. Postal database access that you can usually get a 50% accuracy rate on where the people are coming from and where they are in your neighborhoods or in your trade areas. So we can start to show that. To your earlier point though about having this as a part of a mix, I think that's integral. It's not, you just can't put this on your own on your site and just you could do it and rely on your organic traffic and for people to get there on their own. But in our platform, one of the things we do for the dealers is not only do they set up their spin to win game or their football game, their sports game, whatever it is they put on there, we also actually provide them full banner sets for media purposes. We also provide them panel sets for Facebook cover pages or their panels on their pages of their websites.
Sure.
To your point, Michael, you've got to have a mix of a tactic and a strategy to drive your traffic to the desired finish point, right? To the desired end game. And then hopefully we've given you enough analytics that you can really close it out. Yeah,
use data as your guide. Don't make gut decisions. Always track, measure, and improve. Okay, cool. So what I really like about this is it's something that might sound new, but it's actually not new. It's been around forever, but it's something that you listening in can take advantage of, the concept of gamification to engage users, to understand maybe where they're at in the buying process based on the games that they're playing or interacting with. And then it's a real cool lead conversion strategy.
The name of the game is to be different than everybody else in your market. And this is just the easy way to be different, because nobody else, you're not seeing it everywhere. I know you have a lot of people that are probably engaged with the product.
Well, and I can imagine there's probably a hesitation too, right? There's probably hesitation for, I mean, we see this all the time. There's hesitation for dealers that are like, oh man, I gotta pay more money, or I gotta give away free oil changes, or I gotta give away, whose site was on? I was on a dealer's site that's actually doing this, and they're giving away like a $300 restaurant voucher as part of a game. If you don't know how that fits in and how that $300 plays a role in getting people into your showroom, or whether that's cost per acquisition, however you're going to attribute that, I mean, yeah, this could seem like a really risky thing, but it works. So.
And what we're trying to do to it as well, like to Robert's point, like, there is that hesitation. And that's why we've done it in a way that you can set up an account, for instance, on RevUps and never spend a dime. You can set up games, you can look and see how they'll act, how they'll work, how, once you customize it with your dealership's logos and how you put things in. But to your point too is, don't give stuff away. Have pricing levels that are all tied into something that's part of the business practice of the dealership. It does free stuff all the time. Mm-hmm. If you want, and your customers better than say I do, but that's why we allow the engine to be pay per use as well. So go into it at one point, and at our cost point, we try to make it low so the dealer can go in, and if he executes and he pulls in just a few leads, the cost of execution like far outweighs what they've paid for to actually just put it into market. And we do that because we, like to Robert's point, you've got to do different things, but everything doesn't have to cost $1 million, right? And we don't want our dealers having to rely on, for instance, a lot of third-party white glove support to do something that they can do on their own in 5 steps.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
We just try to make this environment simple, right? That's sort of our mandate. So to that point, those dealers are hesitating. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great idea. Be different, try things out. I mean, that's really the thing. I was having a conversation with my team, and it was like, you know what, the adage is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But I say, if it ain't broke, try and figure out how to break it. In other words, always be comfortable testing stuff and seeing what it's going to do, and be comfortable experimenting and throwing a gamification piece on your site and driving some traffic to it, and see how consumers are engaging. The worst thing that can happen is you gain a bunch of valuable intel on how consumers interact with you as a brand or as a dealership, and that's valuable. That's valuable data for driving your business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And I think too, right? Like, as I said earlier, from a technical standpoint, you've got to test things. You've got to try things. You have to evolve. If you sit there month after month and go, what are we doing this month? And there's all these great, small, nimble tools out there. You got to start using these things. Like, for me personally, it's a no-brainer, but I also try to practice what I preach when I can. Like, what can we put on our own sites to incent dealers? Like, when I do presentations at the different conferences, what can I do to incent a dealer there to try to do something with our platform, right? It's just awesome. Let's test stuff and let's test stuff together. Right on, man. Appreciate you being on the show with us today. Brent Wees, the Linda Ronstadt to my Aaron Neville.
Yeah. Where do we find you at?
That's right. Where do you find me at? I'll be at Tim Hortons getting a coffee. No, You can always find me at Brent Wees on Twitter is my main Twitter handle. We got a ton of products on Twitter as well, but convertwithoctane.com is where you can get more information on the RevUps gamification platform. Brent at dashboard.ca is always where you can get a hold of me. We love showing dealers what this is all about. I have to say, I'm watching Canadian dealers adopt this a lot quicker than the U.S. guys right now, and that's a bit of a difference, because usually our markets kind of followed what's going on in the U.S., but we've seen our guys north of the border actually are taking more of a they're diving in with this a little bit more because they like everything about the nimbleness of it. So
they like to play games up there. That's what it is. They like to play games.
Because we're still under about 6 feet of snow, and we got nothing else to do. No, no. It's just it's an interesting trend to see that. Seeing the Canadian dealers sort of bite into this a little bit harder off the onset, but we think the sky's the limit, and we're just adding to it all the time. More games, more mechanics, more measurement. It's really exciting for us, and we're really looking out for our guys at the stores and trying to help them just conquest more customers.
Right on. Thanks,
Awesome.
man. Appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks guys for having me on. I really appreciate it, and I think this is an awesome podcast, and I look forward to it every week.
Right on. Thank you.
Brent.
And I'm not just saying that because I'm drunk. I'm saying it because I really do love it.
Okay.
Thanks, man. Brought me to tears.
You're welcome.
And there you have it. That was Mr. Brent Wees, and he was breaking down, gamification and how it can, benefit your dealership, how you can put it into action. Michael, what'd you think, man? I know you've seen this. This is my first time hearing him discuss this topic, so I was definitely into it. But
yeah,
what are your thoughts?
Like I said, I watched him speak at Canadian Digital Dealer on this topic, and I thought, this is a really cool thing because, like you had mentioned in the episode, this is something that can make your dealership unique. It's something that almost guaranteed the dealership next door isn't doing. And I mean, with the way he was talking about it, doing it kind of digitally where we know everybody is hanging out these days, it's a huge money saver because you're not looking at the cost of like sending out the special key in the mail to 10,000 people who you're going to try and get them to all come into the store. It's low cost in that you don't have to pay for mailing stuff out, the mail outs, the whatever, the plastic key or the badge that you bring into the store that most of the time probably just gets chucked into the garbage. This is online, so it doesn't cost you anything really to have it up there and on your website. But I like what he was talking about, how it's important for it to be a part of an overarching marketing mix. It's not that be all end all, but they're seeing some real cool things happen with this concept of gamification to engage site users in a way that really, you couldn't engage them, by not having it. So.
No, it definitely was a good session. It's something that I definitely think that even from a salesperson having website, there's ways that, you get creative. You can really tap into this thing. And again, the name of the game is to be different, separate yourself from everybody else. And there's so many little easy ways that you don't have to, like Brent said, you don't have to drop $1 million on it, or cost you big money that can separate you from everybody else.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks, guys, for listening into this session of the Dealer Playbook podcast. You can check out all of the information we talked about in this episode, as well as get connected to Mr. Brent Wees by visiting www.thedealerplaybook.com/59. And you know what? I'm going to go out on a limb. I forgot to congratulate those of you who won free signed copies of my book. I'm so glad, so appreciative to you guys for wanting to check that out. I think we should extend that again this episode. Let's round up another 5 copies of the book. So the first people to visit www.thedealerplaybook.com/iTunes, leave us a review on iTunes, and then just tweet at Dealer Playbook done. Just say done in the tweet, and the first 5 people that do that listening to this episode will send you out a free signed copy. All you got to do after you've done that is visit our contact page and send us your contact info and who you'd like the book made out to. But again, thanks so much, guys. We'd love for you to get your hands on this book, help you take your digital marketing to the next level. And with that, Robert, you got anything else?
Nah, man. Ready. Thank you. Thanks,
Let's
everybody.
roll out.
We'll see you next time.
Later.